Well, now you got into this mess by going down a waterfall. Now, how would you suppose we can get them out of there?
By going up the waterfall?
That's right. Anything's possible in Disneyland.
Welcome, friends, and thank you for joining us on this episode of Up the Waterfall with your hosts, Zanna and Scott Otis.
Howdy.
That's us. Here we bring you a journey up the waterfall of Disney Parks history, nostalgia, facts and figures, and, some present-day perspective. This episode is going to be, I forgot to think of a title again, Best Effects in Disney Parks, but effects that are like game-changing. I don't know how we're going to word it. We'll figure that out afterwards. You'll know by now. Not just like everyday special effects, but things that are like really changed the industry, the theme park industry, and Disney parks in general.
I might need to change my list now.
I don't think you do. We'll just jump right in, and this is going to include, I assume, all the parks because you've been to most all of them.
Oh.
So your list may be slightly different than mine.
I really don't have a whole lot from the international parks.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know, I was just keeping it domestic. But I do have some thoughts about the international parks. But I was thinking, actually, back in my childhood days of going to Disneyland, some of the things that really kind of got me as a kid, like going to the Tiki Room and seeing that amazing fountain in the middle and thinking, how can a water go that high, that cleanly, so wonderfully? And just a nice little burbling fountain.
Sometimes it's just the little things.
Yeah, but that really struck me as a child, and things like that, or the like the rolling lava in the Primeval World section of the Disneyland Railroad.
It's always fun to look at.
When I think that literally is just like logs wrapped in tinfoil with red lights on them and turning like a rotisserie. But it's done in such a way that it made me as a kid think that, that's actually rolling lava coming off of there. So it's amazing how impactful these kinds of things are.
Those are like, perhaps like the smaller details, which I'm glad you brought up because that is true. I don't know if they're necessarily game-changing effects.
It changed my game.
Okay. But I mean, I was just going to jump right in with obviously animatronics, audio-animatronics is a game changer. We talked about that extensively in our episode of, what was it called again?
What? I don't know.
Oh,
because
we've talked
about
it was things that changed Disney. I just had the podcast list open. I could probably find out right then and there. We can maybe snip this together.
Yeah, we've
biggest
just talked
hits and misses.
Yeah, okay.
That's
because we've talked about so many
animatronics was a hit.
topics. Yeah, audio animatronics would probably fit into many of our topics, but that is where we talked about it.
But I think that really changed everything because you could make, the birds talk and sing to you and the flowers croon and all this kind of stuff that wasn't possible before that.
So. Like great moments with Mr. Lincoln in the 60s and, the Hall of Presidents, 1971, to, the Navi River, the shaman there.
Yes.
So.
And now, as of 2 years ago, I guess, because it was 2018, we now have Stuntronics.
Oh my gosh.
Which will be coming soon to
can't wait to see
Avengers
those.
campus near you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of super creepy and scary to me, but exciting at the same time, but very like if you're watching Westworld and you see those animatronics just on their own jump in the air and land on their feet.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
I think they'll be doing that, but probably not like in and amongst Disney guests.
No, they won't be wandering around.
But maybe someday they will be.
Are we living in a simulation right now? We're just getting to that point. Anyway, that's
I don't
another
know.
topic. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to spend too much time on animatronics, I don't think, because everybody knows that.
I mean, I was going to also just include what is his name? Hondo.
Oh, yeah, Hondo.
From
Okay. He's a great one. I think
Smuggler's Run. He's amazing.
leaps and bounds above the Kylo Ren animatronic at the end of Rise of the Resistance, which, I'm not giving anything away. People know he's there.
Yeah, I guess we should also preface this by saying that we don't really want to give away spoilers on this for the relatively new attractions.
No.
A lot of people have yet to ride Rise of the Resistance, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway literally just opened up.
Yeah.
So we can mention those kind of broadly, but I don't want to give any
that's
give
why
away any secrets.
I wanted to keep it as kind of special effects versus like technology that may have changed things, because if you get into like, ride mechanics and things like that, then it's a whole other.
Okay. But there are some things in all of those attractions that I mentioned that would be worthy of this list that I might not include because I don't want to really give anything away. But maybe you will.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
But that just rolls us right into. I'm kind of going chronologically on my list.
My list is a mess. So you go ahead.
Usual. I'm here to bring order and. Anyway, Pepper's Ghost.
I have that.
Yes, which started really. Its origins go back as far as Leonardo da Vinci and the camera obscura and all that stuff.
That's right.
But it was not really used, as I'm sure everyone knows, in a large scale until the Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion, that's right.
And it really is such, again, a simple effect, like you were talking about some of the other, tinfoil and logs. But it's so effective. I mean, I never really thought about it as a kid. I always just wondered, like, how those things were see-through.
Yeah.
And I didn't think at all that it was like involving reflections and things like that.
That's right.
So it really does its purpose for the majority of guests when they first go there. And then,
but
nerds like us can dig into it and see how it's done.
It really is amazing in a lot of the ways that they've used it, including certainly Haunted Mansion, because you're basically making ghosts that you can see through, and it was also used pretty wonderfully in the old Wonders of World of Motion at the end when you got to ride in your own little space car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's they even updated the current Haunted Mansion to include ghosts that are riding in your doom buggy with you at the end. And
it was definitely in Horizons as well during the birthday party scene at the end. And in one version of Spaceship Earth.
That's right.
Which I guess, as of now, those animatronics are still up there.
That's right. Everyone probably remembers the little veterinarian scene where they're working on a cheetah or something.
It works for so many.
Oh, yeah.
And now, I mean, I feel okay saying that, there is a version of this that's kind of like the next level in Rise of the Resistance, because it's on the Disney commercials. They show it, don't they?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that.
All right. Well, there's the next level of holographic type projection.
I was going to say there's a couple of other locations where it was used.
Okay.
Including, if you may remember, El Rio del Tiempo, with the Mexican priest. As you're going through the little tunnel.
Mexican priest.
The little high priest from the... As you kind of leave the little restaurant area and you go into that tunnel.
Oh.
That priest guy.
Really? I'm going to have to rewatch a video of that. I thought that was all just films.
Might have been film involved, but there was Pepper's Ghost because he disappears.
Interesting.
As well as the blue fairy from Pinocchio's Daring Journey at Disneyland. It's even kind of used a little bit in The Living Seas currently. With the
that was on my list.
With the little fishies.
I didn't realize that's how they did that, though. I thought it was just some random projection thing.
Or it was the actual Nemo characters that they let loose in the aquarium that they all just happened to congregate right there in front of the windows, talking to you and only you.
It was in Imagination then too, with that butterfly thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Actually, no. That's just
just a
smoke and
mirror
mirrors
thing?
without the smoke.
But then I was gonna ask, if it was a different thing.
This
Yeah.
is why we have you here.
That's just mirrors.
Okay.
Very well placed mirrors.
Well, Imagination is on my list, but I don't want to get to that yet.
Okay. But yeah, Pepper's Ghost. That's an old classic.
Yeah, and Disney certainly puts it to good use and keeps it up to date, I think.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. I'm trying to think of where, if any other places that aren't Disney have used that kind of technology.
I think so, and I think I've even seen it. However, I cannot place it right now.
What is the thing that Universal loves to do?
Well, they do the projection thing, like in Gringotts,
In
where
like
Bill.
every Harry Potter ride, they do like that one effect. but
Yeah.
that's not Pepper's Ghost, is it?
No, that's like Wow, I cannot speak. Projecting onto something, like just a plate of glass or something.
We'll get to it.
Will we?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because I actually don't know what you're talking about with the Harry Potter stuff. But
What do you
when we get
mean?
to projection stuff, we'll talk about that.
Oh, okay. We'll put a pin in this then. Let's see. What's next on my list?
How about let's go over to my list?
Oh, all right. Well, you said you weren't chronological, so I
Well,
was
no,
kind of guiding the path.
I have one of the old school ones that
All right.
to me was always amazing, and that is in the Pirates of the Caribbean, the fire when they set the
Yes.
whole town on fire.
I
It is
forgot to put that on my list, but I thought of it
amazing
as we
how
were talking.
low tech that is, but how well it works. Even 50 years later.
Yeah. And there was recently I think last Halloween, some house somewhere did something similar to that, and like people were calling the fire department like multiple times
Oh my
because
gosh.
it just looks so realistic.
Yeah, because you can certainly add smoke and the smell of fire
Yeah.
to that, but it literally is cellophane, little pieces of plastic, clear plastic,
Yeah.
with orange lights projected on them, and then wind
Yeah.
fluttered about. But it's done so very well, and it's amazing how such an old school thing, so simple, still works so well.
It's true. That's why they're Imagineers. They think of those things that
That's right.
really stand the test
Those
of
are
time.
the first generation of Imagineers who really came up with all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have another old school one?
Well, I was really just going to jump to,
Alright.
I think, Imagination,
Ooh.
which I don't know. I might be, stretching my definition of effects, but
cares?
I always thought, and I don't know, I forgot to look this up, what the earliest use of an on-ride photo was.
Ooh.
But the fact that in Imagination they took your photo
Yeah.
and then you saw it on the ride.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a buy this photo kind of thing. It was
No.
just developed that quickly.
Took your picture, and then later, while on the exact same
Yeah.
ride, you saw your picture.
And I always just thought that was really cool. And the way that they did it, it was right before the science section.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like strobe lights. So you
Uh-huh.
didn't really even know it was happening until you saw it at the end. So it really was a great surprise ending, I think,
And then at the end, they had Dreamfinder kind of like in a
with his little
direct,
movie camera.
yeah, little movie, like he was the director of the movie and showing you
Yeah.
you.
And then once you did know, then you could pose for the photo every time.
And I did.
So
We always did crazy, silly things at that point.
I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know what the first. Do you happen to know what the first instance of on-ride photos
That
was?
might be
Looking
it.
up right now.
Oh, are you okay?
But I don't really know. I think there might be other instances where you could see yourself in other things, but I don't know.
There's a whole thing on it on popularphotography.com
Fun.
or whatever, which was the roller coaster photos, which I guess is a whole separate thing. But like Space Mountain, I don't know if that's always had that because I didn't ride it until I was 33.
It did not
so.
always have that. That's relatively, and when I say relatively, I mean not so new.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fairly new compared to all of this.
I think because, up until a certain point, it was not possible to get a photo printed
Right.
as far as like, please buy this photo kind of situation, you know?
I actually do remember a circumstance where they took your photo on the ride and showed you on the ride that photo. Not one for sale, but it was in the original Tower of Terror.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was basically as you were entering the fifth dimension, which we might step upon later. They took your photo, or actually, that's actually where they showed you your photo. They had taken it earlier in the ride.
Oh, really?
And basically, in all of the weird stuff that you're going through as you're kind of progressing through it. And by the way, this is only in the Walt Disney World version because that's the only one that has this extra dimension. In the eyeball, or I guess there's an eyeball that blinks and kind of looks around, but there's a separate place that kind of it pans left to right and it shows you a photo that they had taken. They don't always do this, and I think right now they've gotten rid of this. But it showed you a picture of all of the folks in your car, kind of looking like.
I guess I vaguely remember that. I really haven't been on the ride that much
that's
to
right.
have
You
too
really
many
haven't.
memories of it. But that's fun.
Yeah. That opened in '94, so it was still kind of relatively recent.
So again, I think I'm kind of like crossing the boundaries of game-changing effects, but for me, it was always a fun thing.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly it led to the on-ride photos that you can then purchase and now are
Absolutely.
in your, and really, if you want to get down to it, the PhotoPass itself is a game changer, I guess.
Yeah, PhotoPass is just amazing because it used to be that you line up to get your photo taken and then you would have to go to the main street at the
that's
end of the
crazy to
day
think
just
about.
to
I remember
maybe
doing
look
that
at your
thing.
photo and perhaps buy it. And now you can just all do it on a card
Yeah.
that you hand there. They just swipe it, or they don't even swipe it anymore. They just kind of tap it on their little
Or
pad.
your Magic Band if you have.
Yeah, and it's all instant. And they can do all kinds of fun effects. You remember the one that they did at the holiday party where they were able to kind of project a fun background
Yeah, when
with
they
just
walk by with the light stick
with a
thing.
light wand.
Yeah.
And they were able to create a background. So, yeah.
We should do an episode on PhotoPass. And have
That would be a
people
whole
that
other
actually
thing, yeah.
take those kind of photos on there. I'm not a huge, we don't do magic shots really for the most part.
Nope.
I just usually never remember to or bother to, but
That's
they
all right.
are fun things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What else you got?
What after imagination? Well, I forgot to look up. You probably know when Fantasmic opened, right?
Yes, May of 1992.
Okay, well then I'm going to do Great Movie Ride first. If I'm trying to stick with chronological order. The Great Movie Ride isn't known for its special effects, I don't think, but there is one effect that when I was little, and I'm sure most kids really appreciated and enjoyed it, which was the fact that no matter which car you were in, the cowboy bandit scene or the gangster scene, when you got to the point with the gem, both of those people wanted to steal that mega gem.
Well, did
And
you see the
then-
size of it?
I know. And then they would touch it, smoke would happen, and the bad person would die and turn into a skeleton.
Well, it serves
But
them right.
because the cowboy had a cowboy hat on, and the bandit had a gangster hat on, the skeleton also had a hat. So
Yes, it did.
it didn't matter which car you were in, it was the same end result. And when I finally figured that out, the wheels were turning in my head. I was like, that's pretty cool that they did that.
That's right.
These guys really know how to make an attraction.
And I think they also had a gun. They both
yes,
had guns,
that's
too.
true. Yep.
So, yeah.
So you knew, that was the guy
Yep.
or girl, and
That's
now
right.
they're dead.
Well, they're just singed a little bit. I
Just
mean,
goes
to the
show
point.
you anything can happen in the movies.
That's right.
So yeah, I had Great Movie Ride on there, but that was the only reason for it,
Okay.
But I mean,
No, that's a good one.
and that's what I thought about the technology of the moving theater, which is also in place in Universe of Energy, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, I mean, but also that was really the first time that you had a tour guide and he went away.
Yeah,
That was a very unique thing.
that's true.
I mean, that was unheard of. That, okay, you're getting settled in with this person who's going to be your host for the entire thing, and all of a sudden, something goes wrong,
Yeah,
and now he's gone. and now you got to deal with this new person, and he's got a whole different personality. So yeah, that really was a game changer. Not for more than what you thought.
Yeah, and that really did make or break the ride. Was
very much
the acting ability of said cast member. You win some, you lose some with that.
Yep.
Anyway, did you have anything to add around that time frame or no?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to jump to Fantasmic.
Just keep going. Yeah.
Which is, I guess you've said an attraction.
Yeah.
Since it's a nighttime spectacular.
It's a huge spectacular.
When did that open?
May 1992. I was there.
Oh, right. You said that already.
Unbeknownst to me, I was there opening night in Disneyland.
Oh,
I had no idea.
Did it open there first?
Absolutely.
That's right. So there they have the Murphy the Dragon.
Yes, they do.
They nickname him that.
Because Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will. There were many, many issues with Murphy.
Yeah.
A lot of problems.
But really, there's a lot of fun effects in that show that I think make it a favorite, and I think why it's lasted so long. They've updated it recently with a couple of new scenes.
Do you want to talk about the one that just gets you every time, or you want me to do that one?
You can talk about it, sure.
Well, like right at the end of it, Mickey Mouse, who's like, he just defeated the dragon. What is he, down by the water with his sword? And then all of a sudden he just poof, he in a flash of light, he's gone, and now he's way up top there. He's just defeated everything, and now he's conducting everything in a whole different outfit.
Yeah. Some imagination.
All in the blink of an eye. And I've even tried to do it because they use lights that will blind you.
Right.
I've tried to do it where I close one eye so that eye gets blinded, and then right as he does that, I kind of switch which eye is open so I can see it happen, and it's still just very, very well done.
Yeah, it is. I like those really fast. I'm trying to think of
it's a time-traveling Mickey.
Another place where that happens, but can't think of it off the top of my head.
But I was going to say also another thing that they used, that was really the first use of water as a movie screen, and they use that prominently, especially at Disneyland. Yeah. I guess they have here at Disney World too, where they would essentially during the show have just giant blasts of water come out, and they were able to project animation and other scenes onto it. And then when they needed to not do that, the water simply went away. And that was always amazing. And they've certainly used that in World of Color at California Adventure. And they've used it in many other huge shows, especially like in Disneyland Paris. Their castle show has that. They have water as well.
That's fun.
So, yeah. What else in Fantasmic?
No, that was really, you covered it all.
Ooh. Sorry,
it's just that's totally okay.
I mean, I would also say the fact that a dragon came out of nowhere,
exactly.
And now you've got a giant
dragon. Was the dragon? Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and they have since redone Murphy, so he's more impressive.
Our version here is different, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yes,
we still have. Do we have the snake, or do we still have Maleficent? Sorry, I don't go to Fantasmic that much.
No, there's both.
There's both the snake thing and
they do that.
But it's not the same kind of dragon.
Well, they have a different snake. I think the one and this is a different effect before, they have Ka, the snake from Jungle Book. Whereas in Disney World, I believe they have Jafar as a snake from Aladdin. Am I wrong or am I right about that?
You are correct.
Yeah. But that's a whole different thing. That's totally separate from the dragon.
The snake eyes making like the
with the spotlights. Yeah,
that is so freaking cool.
I've always wondered about that because no matter where I sit, it's like it always hits my eyes.
Well, that's what a spotlight will do, or a searchlight, I guess. So I mean, that's a really cool show. I do enjoy it at Disneyland more than here.
Yes.
I think because of a few reasons. Obviously, they have the Columbia,
and the Mark Twain
goes by with the pirates. It used to be Peter Pan and Hook, and now it is Jack Sparrow.
That's right.
And then they have the Mark Twain
Mm-hmm.
riverboat at the end where we have our sad little, put together
Comparatively, it is sad looking.
little boat.
If
that
you
goes by
only
at the
see
end.
that show, it's great.
Yeah. But our viewing area is much more elaborate and set up for this kind
Yeah,
of
it's
thing
definitely
versus Disneyland. Because if you're trying to walk through Disneyland when Fantasmic is about to start or leaving,
They've made crowd control
Yeah.
a science. They've
That's
had
true.
many years to perfect that, but it is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here at Disney World, it's an actual stadium
yes.
and a place for the show to go. Whereas in Disneyland, they just kind of put it in the middle of Frontierland and New Orleans Square,
Yeah.
and even a
Which
little
is
bit of Critter
scenic
Country.
because they have
Oh yeah,
the
I love
island
it.
and everything. Anyway, moving on, we have I forgot about this one, which was from 91.
Ooh, what's
May
that?
16th, 1991. Does it ring any bells for you?
Yes, that was a good one.
Muppet Vision 3D,
3D.
which, correct me if I'm wrong, was this the
will.
first example of 3D but really 4D
Yeah,
experience? I think it was,
I
right?
believe. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
So
Let's
you
go with
got
that.
well, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was 94,
Right.
which I'm also going to talk about in the same vein.
Okay.
And then PhilharMagic was 2000.
Because like Magic Journeys did not. I mean, its fourth dimension was in its own kind of wackiness.
Yeah, no, but I mean, this was the fact that Fozzie Bear squeezes his
Flower.
flower that shoots water, and you get water on you.
That's
and then
right.
there's bubbles in the scene with Miss Piggy, and bubbles come down. Which, by the way, we saw it recently. The bubbles were much lighter than they used to be. So,
But not just
Disney
that,
needs
but
to
like
up their
things
bubbles
like
budget.
where they have audio-animatronics that are
Yes.
doing stuff as well, and live characters that
Yeah.
are doing stuff. And if you look at the Swedish chef behind you, and he's got his giant cannon, he literally blows the theater to shreds.
Yeah.
And you see that.
Yeah, the effects at the end where there's holes, but then you can see behind a scrim to see the bricks, with holes in them, is really a super cool effect.
But I also like how characters in the movie, like there's some that are actually shooting arrows, and they
Yes.
shoot them
Oh, that's right. You just told me this.
into
I never noticed it.
into the where the Waldorf and Statler
Yeah.
are sitting up there in the balcony,
It's really cool.
and there's arrows all over the place.
I thought the effect you were going to say was when there's a character in the movie who comes out and talks to you in real life.
That's right. He does that too.
Yeah. Bean Bunny or Sweetums?
Sweetums.
I always, every time I watch that movie, I'm like, oh, they probably got rid of Sweetums because that's
I
like
always
too
think
much,
that too.
No,
too much to deal with, and
Nope.
it's easy to cut that out or something.
no, it's essential.
I know, but I always thought I didn't believe Disney would stick with it, but they did, and I'm really happy that they did. I tweeted about this when we saw it a couple weekends ago, and it really, Muppet Vision 3D has really stood the test of time. The corny jokes are, last through the decades and are still funny.
Yeah.
The effects are great.
And that just goes to show that the Muppets themselves are
That's
still
true.
relevant.
The Muppets are always
up
relevant
to this day. Yeah.
But I love that, and it's not quite as to the level of Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which then when that
yeah.
opened
That was huge.
in 94, I can't read. Yes, November 21st, 1994,
I was there.
replacing Captain EO.
Yeah.
That, of course, added the little mice that go through the theater, and you had the little
Oh yeah.
things that hit your feet. That was always scary.
I was gonna say, Captain EO actually came out before.
They didn't really do when they brought Captain EO back. They added more effects to it,
But they
because
had some effects. They
well,
had,
it was just like a blinking light in the theater. I think that was about
yeah.
it.
They had a spotlight as well at the
Yeah, I
beginning,
guess.
and smoke when the spaceship crashed.
Yeah,
Not a lot.
that was like phase one
Yeah.
of them figuring stuff out, I guess. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the seats, rumbled because you were getting picked up
Oh yeah.
by
The whole theater, which had shrunk,
yes,
was being picked up,
and then
mice and
the mice, and I guess there's probably water involved when the dog sneezes on you or something like that.
Yes.
But then it wasn't until PhilharMagic in 2003 that they added scents
oh, that's right.
also. So now you had stuff being sprayed at you.
I can think of another.
What?
It's Tough
Yes,
to Be
It's
a
Tough to
Bug,
Be a
which
Bug.
came out in 1998.
98.
Had
That's
that.
true. I was going to add that when I was
We had
talking.
the stink
and then I
bug.
forgot. Yeah, I
And
don't.
all of that.
That's not a good smell, though.
No.
I don't like that. And that has the little thing that goes in your back. Like I always sit forward in my seat when I'm doing that one.
That's right.
Does that also have things that run under your feet too? Like no, it's just in the back.
Just the bugs in the seats and all of that.
Yeah. So basically,
And the spiders that come down from up above.
Oh, right.
Which freaks a lot of little kids out.
Yes. Basically the addition of 4D effects really Disney has spearheaded, I guess, and really done the best way. Because honestly, if you ride Shrek 4D or whatever it's called over at Universal, no offense, Universal, but that is terrible. Like, it's so loud, and it's literally just like your seats are vibrating all the time, and they make so much noise. It's crazy. And I thought they were shutting it down, but it's still open, I guess.
Still open, yeah.
It's crazy.
I think it's due to be changed out. So.
Universal can do some things very well, but that type of experience was not one of them.
Sorry.
So yeah, that was my whole. Also, since we're in like mostly the mid 90s now, we can talk about the Fifth Dimension.
Oh yes.
So
1994 when the
list.
Tower of Terror. It was on my list.
I'll let you speak to that because, like I said, I've only been on it twice in my whole life. So.
Well, I was going to say with the opening of Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Just it had the opening scene where you went up and down the elevator shaft, and you knew that it was going to end with a drop sequence. But that was not the same elevator shaft. And so you have to go from one to the other at some point. And just leave, being in an elevator that doesn't only go up and down, to me, was a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
And to have it actually leave
and go
forward in such a way that was all very mysterious and very puzzling. Yeah, that was always very strange. And of course, with the ominous music and all of that, and all of the visuals that they had.
That's what I was gonna. I mean, what always stood out to me was the visuals that you were seeing on the side. It was just like, what is going on? Because it was like Starfield kind of stuff, and then the weird floating things,
and then even just how they separate the doors with a little beam of light and all of that. It's all done very well. But I would even say, even before that scene, when you're in the very first shaft, when you go up to to see that the doomed folks that will be in your elevator.
Yes, that's
to see them projected there in that hallway. I actually know how all of that's done, and it's still incredibly done very well, to the point where most people don't know how that is done. And so I won't really reveal that.
Wow, we should have done our mouth exercise.
Because I've actually I've taken a tour of that attraction, and I was like, wait, what? They do it that way? That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you find stuff out like that, you find that it doesn't ruin the magic for you. Does it enhance it because you know?
In this one, it did enhance it because I've been on it many times. There is still, I will say, and this is completely going away from the timeline a little bit, there is still one effect that I've experienced.
I figured you'd talk about this.
Oh yeah, that I've experienced, and I have no idea how it's done. I have tried to figure it out, but it's to the point where I really don't want to know. But the Shiriki Atundu in Tokyo Disney Sea Tower of Terror, which is not associated with Twilight Zone at all.
Right.
There is a point in the pre-show where Harrison Hightower, he's basically kind of trying to take all of these things that he's found around the world, and he found a little statue of Shiriki Atundu that's kind of put a curse on this tower. And at one point, they have the little Shiriki Atundu statuette thing right there, and it's really close to you, if right there in the little pre-show. And at one point, there's like a flash of light, and it's gone. Like less than a second. And I've actually like stood there, like with my eyes wide open, trying to figure out how in the world they do it, because it's like it's instantaneous, and it's not like it goes anywhere or like they drop it or anything, because there's really even no place for it to go.
Really?
Yeah.
I just assumed, not having seen it at all, that it was like a drop situation.
No, I have no idea. But as I said, I don't even really want to. I don't want to. I could probably go online for somewhere and figure it out.
That
I
discuss it online,
I don't want to do
them.
that.
I just saw that it existed.
I'm still just absolutely amazed by it, and like most things, I can kind of figure out if I try to think about them. That one, it still puzzles me to this day, but I love it. It's done so very well. And because we were talking about Tower of Terror, I thought I'd include that there. There is one other thing, and that's just the drop sequences when you are in the main elevator shaft where you're doing all of the dropping. Just the fact that they can make an elevator shaft or an elevator fall faster than gravity.
Right, it's being pulled down.
Right. But not only that, but then have it raise and lower, and basically have it do random drop sequences. To me, that's also a game changer, and they've enhanced that over the years, where they've added, certain drop sequences. They've even added characters in the shaft that sometimes are seen, little ghosts and things.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And then I guess since we're still talking about this attraction, we might as well just go ahead and talk also about the Guardians of the Galaxy version of it at California Adventure. Did you have that on there?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because you've never been on that.
I've never been on.
Where they had, all of the visuals are just so crystal clear, and it's like actual real life. Like you're with Rocket Raccoon.
Is it? Or is it like they're flat?
It's so freaking good.
It's really, it's amazing. And I've
only seen it on video.
It's not just like it's 4K technology or anything like that. It looks like you can see like beyond it and all of that stuff.
That's cool.
I know how some of the stuff in there works, and it is like crazy detailed.
It really is amazing. But then also the fact that they set all of the drop sequences to the music, to the the playlist that they have, and they have random songs that they do it to, and they really do it. It's a lot more shaky. So if you're one who has a tummy that can't quite take just drops, then that one actually is made even more severe because of how crazy it gets.
The two times I've been on the regular Tower of Terror here, the feeling that I get is like, I want to die right now. I'm going to die, and then it's over.
And it's a shame.
It's like exactly the amount that I can handle, and then I don't want to.
Because I really want you to see Guardians of the Galaxy, but I don't want you to get ill. So
I'll probably do it at some point, just to say I've done.
That'll be fun. Next time, maybe. So anyway, that was a good one.
So I'm gonna jump to.
Terror.
I guess this might be technology based versus special effects, but I think it's still a fun effect, and that would be there's two of them: Turtle Talk with Crush, and also Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
I had that on my list.
I don't particularly, they're not attractions that I'm like, let's go.
I think Turtle Talk is better.
Really?
I do. Okay. Apparently, I struck a nerve.
I guess because if you've been on Monsters Inc., it's kind of the same.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm going.
Turtle Talk, I guess, is dependent on who is in there, but it's also a lot of kids.
Yeah, because the monsters are no longer scaring people; they're trying to collect the energy from laughs.
Yeah,
it's essentially a comedy show,
right?
But the comedy is really just very corny and dry, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not Muppet level.
Yeah, it really doesn't break a lot of ground. But to me,
the ability of something that's on, animated on a screen in front of you, that's pre-done, I guess.
There's not people animating it.
No,
like
I just mean
on
it's
draft
not like,
tables, like saying, "Oh
it's
my
not
gosh."
like they're pressing different buttons, and I mean, Crush is probably I don't know. I could be sounding like an idiot saying that maybe he's moves around based on where people are.
But go ahead.
But the fact that he is talking to a different audience every time and different people
and interacting
and saying like, no, you with the red shell or whatever. I think is fun. And I mean, obviously there's people backstage that are seeing this.
Wait, what? It's not actually Crush?
It's really just like the push trash can taken to the next level. Of
they also had a version of this
immersion.
with Stitch in Hong Kong.
Ah, okay.
As well. But yeah, it really is amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun thing when you can feel like it's part of the show and you're part of the show.
Yeah.
So that's a fun effect.
Yeah.
I just had that one written
I like
down.
the surfer speak also of Crush. That's just fun.
Where he tells everyone how to say dude and then
Dude.
say it nonstop.
Righteous. Righteous.
Along that same line, I guess, Toy Story Midway Mania, that Mr. Potato Head in California would talk to people, right?
Well, both of them.
Oh, I didn't realize that he did that here.
Yeah.
I thought he was just like saying a preset list of things.
No, he chats with you.
All right. Well, separate from that, I think Toy Story Mania. It's not Midway.
It actually
anymore.
goes both ways.
Oh.
You can say it with or without the Midway.
Anyway, it is fun to be in a ride where you don't have like a gun with a cord or anything like that, and you're just like aiming it at a screen and stuff is happening based on that. I think that's a fun effect. Yeah,
I've heard that just the fact that you are independent of the screen that that you're reacting to, and the fact that the little lever that you're pulling to launch, whether it be rings or darts or little blobs of goo or whatever it is at the beginning, the fact that it's just you're accumulating a score, and basically what you see is as a result of where you're aiming it and all of that. I've heard that the brain power that's involved in doing that is just astronomical, like more so than the original space shuttle.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're wasting it on this.
Not wasting it.
So
It's a lot of fun.
A kitty.
Yeah,
at
a little
the
kitty.
end. I very rarely get that.
I always get the kitty.
My accuracy is never good.
That's all right.
Oh well.
It's fun.
It is fun. So I'm good. I mean, if you have other things to jump in with, I'm just going down my list and then.
No, I'll just keep adding to them, and then because I have a list that's all over the place, and I'll just keep
you can
adding.
throw yours in at the end. Next for me would be the semi-recent, a few years back, updates to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Ooh, yeah.
Which I could not find a date for the ones that happened here, where we really got more like queue enhancements.
Yes. But even some of the enhancements in the queue are pretty cool. Like the little canaries.
I think they're really cool when they work and when you have a chance to do them. Because it's kind of like, that was back when they were really figuring out this whole interactive queue thing, which I think they've gone away from now.
Like the whole thing that they added to Space Mountain originally is now completely gone.
Yeah, it's weird how that, I guess because Fast Passes became a thing.
Right.
So that really changed everything.
Parks Disney Play app.
That's true too. But yeah, the fact that you could like make explosions happen on or next to the ride from the queue was always fun. But the main additions to Disneyland's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad were in 2014.
Okay. This is the one like at the end sequence,
like the little
on
thing,
that lift
like
at the end.
The fuse with the sparkly things, and then it's like blowing up at the end. There's little tiny additions, but they made it like so much cooler.
You always knew when you originally went in there, okay, you'd see the rocks kind of shaking and all of that, and eventually you'd see a couple of rocks falling down on what presumably was the track that you were going to go on.
Yeah.
That was fun. But now they've added like just an enormous amount of TNT and dynamite and all of that, and that they're trying to mine for gold or whatever, but it's just to the point where you just happen to be entering this tunnel at the exact time that they've lit the fuse, and it's not just one fuse; it's like might be 50, and they're all going. And at one point, it kind of swirls around this one log, and then you just happen to get caught in the giant explosion at the end, and then you miraculously do find your way out of the tunnel without getting hurt too bad.
Yeah, and they haven't given us those updates here.
No, but
sad
I
face. But
do
it gives us
absolutely
a
love
reason
those.
to go to Disneyland.
Absolutely.
But I think maybe that was kind of paving the way for Grizzly Gulch as well,
Oh, that's right.
which we have not been to
In Hong Kong.
because you haven't been to Hong Kong since that opened.
When I was
But it
in
looks
Hong
really
Kong
fun and
last,
cool.
they were building the 3 new lands of Toy Story Land and
Oh,
then the
right.
Grizzly Gulch.
And Mystic
and then,
Manor.
Yeah. So, Mystic Manor, since I have not been on that, is like currently one of 3 attractions that I've not been on that I'm trying to avoid all
Yeah.
spoilers because I don't watch anything. So, it's Mystic Manor.
Except Xanaland videos, right?
Not if it has that.
Well,
But anyway.
assumably you'd be with me if I was.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, the Mystic Manor, I was going to say Shanghai Pirates, which I still
Right,
haven't seen
yeah.
anything about, and then Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which soon we will be able to see here
Yeah.
when it opens up soon.
So
I'm not giving anything away about any of those
if
because I don't
you're
know.
listening and expecting us to talk about the amazing effects on Shanghai Pirates, we're not going to because we haven't been there yet.
I've heard it's just amazing, but I don't know why or how.
And I think that ride, along with the newest Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you can't really experience it on video the same as in person. It doesn't really translate as well. Not that I'm saying Mickey and Minnie's is like as groundbreaking as Pirates, but I just think there's some things that just don't.
They don't translate well to
yeah.
video. You just need to see them in person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've never really been one that's just like watching videos a lot. But, I mean, I know a lot of people can't get out to the Disney parks, and that's kind of one way that they can keep that going.
I like to watch
during
things
their-
to see if I'm going to be able to ride it or not. Like, if it's a scary thing, how scary it's going to be.
I
If there's,
guess.
like, lifts or like upside down things or whatever. I'd
But,
like to
like-
be prepared.
But as an example, I actually very recently rode for the first time Universal's the Hagrid's coaster, and I had not seen a thing at all about it. I had never seen a single video or read a single description of it, and I was probably surprised about 4 or 5 times. And
Well,
I'm
that's
really
good.
glad that I was able
Yeah.
to experience that new.
That's
And then-
another whole topic is, can you spoil a ride?
I think there are certain things that absolutely can be spoiled. Like I was really right before writing Rise of the Resistance for the first time, I was really struggling because they kept showing things everywhere, and
Yeah.
I kept having to look away. And-
that was spoiled for me a lot. And I don't know if it would have made a huge difference for me or
Yeah,
not.
and so actually I was fortunate enough to be able to finally write it at just the right time when I knew that there were going to be tons and tons of spoilers that I would not be able to avoid, like literally the day before. And so I was able to see it for the first time and was blown away. But I will not describe all of those things to you right now.
All right.
Anyway,
Well,
what more do you have?
the only other thing on my list is really Expedition Everest with the Yeti.
That is not true. I know you have more on your list.
I have one other thing, but we kind of talked about it briefly.
We'll talk more. I've got things. Okay, Expedition Everest.
We don't want it to be a 3-hour show.
No.
Expedition Everest, the Yeti, which I've only seen in B mode one time. Yeah, because I've only ridden once and never again. So
Yeah, I've ridden it many
you can
times.
talk about how great
Yeah,
the Yeti is.
I mean, essentially, this is an audio animatronic, but the mountain was built in such a way where the mountain itself, the track, and also the Yeti were 3 completely interdependent things that were built completely separate, and none of them were touching the other. I guess it was kind of done that way. But yeah, the Yeti was just monstrous, a giant thing, and basically as you whisked underneath him, he literally took a swipe at your car with his giant Yeti arm.
Scary.
And yeah, it was really scary because he was also growling. I think he was a little upset that we were kind of invading his turf. That we were, even though we were just trying to help him protect his turf, but we needed to escape out of there. We weren't stealing all of the tea or anything. So, but yeah, that was a really good one. The Yeti.
Yeah. How tall is he?
198. I don't know. He was a really big dude. I can think of a couple other really giant audio animatronics. There was the little rock monster guy in the Journey to the Center of the Earth, at Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, as well as the dragon underneath the castle in Disneyland
That's
Paris.
really cool.
Yeah, a couple of really big
Sophia
dudes.
recently went there, so
That's
we
right.
got to see photos of it. Well, you've already been there.
I have.
The only other thing I had was the effect that is when you ride Flight of Passage, which, spoiler, but it's been open for a while now.
Yeah, I would say this is okay to talk about. And if you, sorry if we're giving things away.
It's basically like Soarin' 2.0 as far as the technology goes, but you're supposed to be riding an Ikran or a Banshee.
That's right.
Which is this giant dragon-like animal.
That can be seen in the movie Avatar. If you
but
were to
you're
watch that.
physically riding on like a motorcycle-looking thing.
Yes.
But because it's supposed to be the whole Avatar experience of you're plugging into them and, experiencing everything, it breathes.
Yep.
So like as your legs are holding on for dear life, it's breathing in and out. And that's a really cool effect that they didn't have to do at all, but they added that.
That's true. Yeah, and I'll be honest. I did have this attraction on my list, and it was actually more than just that, but that was a big part of it. Yeah, they made it seem so realistic, just like Avatar, because they knew that they weren't physically going to put you on an actual Banshee and have you flying around. The idea is that you are riding, that you are basically taking over for an avatar, experiencing what an actual avatar is doing by having some sort of a mind meld of some sort. And so the avatar itself is doing it and you're just feeling it all. But the screen, even just the giant screen and how amazing the view is phenomenal. And that's a ride that every time I do it, it's I never feel as though, wow, they really kind of cheaped out on the amount of time. I always thought it was extremely well worth it, and it's it seems to me like it's still very lengthy. And you know how sometimes you ride a ride, you think it's a really long ride, and then you ride it again, it seems shorter and shorter. That one doesn't to me. I always feel like I get a huge payoff every time. And to me, that's actually my favorite.
I know.
I think it's
your
actually
favorite.
Done better than Rise of the Resistance. Hard to imagine, but
Whoa.
I know a lot of people think that's a game changer, and I do too. But
I have some critical things to say about Rise of the Resistance. Which
Okay.
Someday I will say.
yeah, we
but
shouldn't
it's
do
still
that
too
today.
early.
But I do think, but I would also like to say with the Flight of Passage, even just the little pre-shows that you go into, and like all the graphics patterns that they have there, and talking to the scientist guy, and how genuine and authentic he is, and just even the little graphics that make it seem like it's just a very real thing.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly blown away by that.
And I know we keep bringing up Joe Rohde, but every now and then he posts some nuggets on Instagram and Twitter. But he was just talking about that semi-recently,
just even
too.
the guy who says, and fly.
Yeah, like it's
even
done that way on purpose to make you be like, wait, is this is this really happening? Like, are we in this?
It really is happening.
And making you question your reality. So
yeah,
layers and layers of immersion.
That's right. I wanted to throw a couple more in there.
Yes, you can do the
because this came
lightning
out.
round.
This isn't just lightning round, but also came out at the same time was the Navi River journey, which we had already talked about a little bit. But you remember even the little critters?
Oh yeah,
like that are jumping on the lily pads above you.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah, like wow, that's cool. And also
that's
all of the things.
A ride that I
on.
wish was longer because it is very beautiful to be on, and I wish
it's
that
sad
they
because
could.
it was supposed to be twice as long as that. And budgets kind of got a little bit shortened a little bit, but it was supposed to be a lot more. But even for what it is, I think it's still very satisfying. It's very gentle and peaceful, and then it all culminates in the little shaman performing that ceremony. But I wanted to touch upon one other little bit of, to me, a game-changing technology that I'm actually a little shocked that you didn't have on your list.
It, so
and this one is certainly used a lot in the new attraction of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, so I really won't get into that. But the idea of projection mapping.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say trackless ride systems, and I was going to be like, that's
dude.
a technology, not an effect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But
a whole other
projection
thing.
mapping, yes.
To
that
me,
is
projection
definitely
mapping,
a
and
game changer.
they now use it quite a bit. Even from such the shows that they have on the castle, which to me that's a game changer. You basically being able to do a castle show where the castle essentially moves, and that's supposed to be an inanimate 180-foot tall building that isn't supposed to move, but it does.
Yeah.
And they can do it also at It's a Small World at Disneyland and all kinds of other places.
I keep wanting to call it the Great Movie Ride, the Chinese Theater.
Yes,
at Disney's
that's
Hollywood
right.
Studios, which is now Mickey and Minnie's.
And then also the Tower of Terror. They project
that's
things
right,
on the Tower of Terror during
that one's
holiday
really
shows.
cool too. I mean,
And the Tree of Life.
And
the Tree of Life. Oh my gosh.
They just do it at all of them.
Christian,
Well, they
we
do it,
forgot about the
and
Tree
they do
of
it
Life.
at the Spaceship Earth on certain times too.
Well,
But
yeah, they need to upgrade their
yes,
projections on that one.
but
they
I mean,
probably
it's
will.
even done in a smaller way. Like for example, when you're walking through the queue of Peter Pan with Tinkerbell,
right, yeah.
and how she kind of flies around those couple of rooms and does things, and they have little effects. And
Yeah,
so you
that
have a
queue
tiny
was
little
definitely, I think, a game changer.
And so using a little pixie that just kind of goes around, and that's all using projection mapping. It's also done very well at the Epcot experience now with
Yes.
that giant map that they
Seamless
have.
Screen.
Yeah, with not only the seamless screen, but then of course the map that they have in the center,
Yes.
where they're projecting. That's how they turn the Spaceship Earth into a giant piece of cheese.
Yeah.
When they're talking about the Ratatouille's
It's funny how
or Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Sorry.
how satisfying projection mapping is. Like,
Oh yeah.
you just watch it and it's like, that was really cool. Like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
I'm satisfied with this experience but it's like so simple. I mean, it probably
Yeah.
isn't. It's probably very complex how they have to
Yeah.
program it and all that.
In
fun
some
stuff.
places, it's done a little bit better than others. And one of the examples I'll use of maybe that could use a little bit improvement is the Frozen Ever After ride in Norway, because that's how Anna and Elsa and the other faced characters, that's how they sing and talk and all of that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that ride is done in Tokyo, because
Okay.
they're essentially copying what was once Maelstrom and making Frozen Ever After, or whatever
Okay.
it's called. Is that what it's called?
I
I don't know.
can't
You know, the
remember if
Frozen
it's
ride in
that
Norway.
one or if that's the show
I know.
that's
I
in the
think that's the
studios.
show. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, they're basically doing the same ride, but it's going to be in Japan, so it's probably
Right.
going to be a lot cooler. And I think when they made ours, it was under time constraints and things like that. So
Right. But then you also have the dwarfs' faces in the mine
yeah,
train.
I think those are actually better than
yeah, those
Anna
are
and
done
Elsa.
well, and even just like Dopey and how he's kind of looking through gems, that's done well. It's done they have it at the Indiana Jones attraction at Disneyland with the Mara,
Oh yeah,
and how you can even kind of see the temple kind of falling apart a little bit.
mm-hmm.
It's done that way. With Radiator Springs Racers with the at the end with the little cars. I think I might be getting that one wrong with Mater and not
Well, that
Mater.
one's weird because some of them have projected faces and some of them have
Yeah.
real faces.
Right. I was talking about the characters are at the end. They're kind of encapsulating the whole thing, isn't that?
Oh no, those are animatronics, I believe.
Okay.
Because
Well,
they're like
the
moving.
Mater one is, and the Lightning McQueen one isn't.
Ah.
Oh, I guess also right when
Weird.
when the track splits, also when you have Sally and
Oh right,
and also
where you either get the paint job or your tires.
right. But even before that, at the actual place where it splits up, when you see the fire truck also watering
Yeah.
things, all of that's kind of done that way.
All right.
And then even the Randall Boggs at the Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek and California Adventure, and how he changes colors.
That's not what it's called.
Oh,
That's
that's
the
the one
Tokyo
at
one.
Tokyo. See, I always get all these mixed up. It's the Monsters Inc.'s
Mike and Sully
Mike
to the
and
rescue.
Sully to the rescue. When Boo kind of smacks Randall Boggs on the head and he
Yeah.
changes all kinds of colors.
That's true.
That's done that way too. So to me, that is a game changer, and they're using that technology more and more, or not
Yeah.
just technology, but that effect more and more.
And I think the great part about that is that it is easy to change things up if they want to update things.
Yeah.
Like they could do a holiday overlay to Mickey and Minnie's.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway really uses that, and that's really not giving anything away, I don't think.
No.
But it's done to an even nth degree where it's done incredibly well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the future.
Are you at the end of your list?
I mean, I've got so many more, but that's okay.
All right. Well, we don't want to. We can add that to another show because there will be updates, and we will want to talk about Rise of the Resistance and Mickey and Minnie's at some point in time. But it's just a little too early now.
Let me just add one,
Okay.
just because it's a whole nother dimension, is the dimension of sound. Like when you're entering even the pre-show of the Smuggler's Run, and you see the Millennium Falcon landing, and the whole room just kind of vibrates and shakes, and it's just so loud. That's an example of sound where it's done
Yes.
extremely well.
That's true.
Okay,
All right.
I'll let her go then.
Okay. Well, if you had any other effects that you think were game changers at Disney parks, let us know, because I feel like we covered them all for sure. But don't put any spoilers in there, though, because we don't want to be responsible for that.
That's right.
But, as always, we hope you enjoyed listening or watching, if you're watching. And please give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and hit the notifications and all that fun stuff. You can, comment on the blog posts that will accompany this. You can comment on YouTube if you want to watch the video. You can catch us on Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff. We do appreciate the comments that we get. They warm my heart to know that people are actually listening and not falling asleep or changing the channel or whatever.
If you like this, please let us know. That's basically
let us
what
know
we're saying.
and let your friends know.
Yes.
Spread the love. Thank you for joining us on this episode of
Up the Waterfall.